Hello, everyone. It is me, Demetra K, and I am sitting here with Donovan, the recovering Democrat Sadiq, also known as the Black Yule Brenner. And it is the Demetra K show where we promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people with the emphasis on even because we're great people, but we can always strive to do better. Like I said, Big Giant, thank you, hello, and welcome to YouTube and Facebook. You are the other side of the conversation. Not only are you viewers, but you are family, and sometimes we share the link. If I share the link and your profile looks like this, you absolutely must show me your face, especially if I've never seen you on here before. And if I haven't seen you on here in a long time, and I ask you to show me your face, just show me real quick, and then you can blank it back out. Just know that no one, and not even Donovan, can see you until I bring you up to the big screen. Also, if I do share the link today, please limit your commentary to about 2 minutes in case other people want to come on here. Also, in the comment section, is not that we disagree, it is how we disagree. So, of course, we're going to be talking about a partial verdict reached in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. There is a partial verdict. I'll get into all the particulars with that in just a minute. But in the meantime, who we have on here, Greater Achievements. How you doing, Mad Dog, Troy, D-Mac, Brother Reggie, and Mike Nice. Hope you're doing well. And thank you to all my moderators. You are the bomb. Donovan?
Hey, welcome you guys. Breaking news. Partial verdict reached in the Sean Combs case. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But before we do that, we have to do some maintenance. You guys see a scrolling banner at the bottom there? If you guys want to donate to have these great conversations and these great news events happen, there's a way you can do that. PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, money order, however you guys want to do it. It motivates the content creator to continue to have these great conversations. Also, I want to remind you guys, African Diaspora News Channel app, please go ahead and download it on Google Play, Apple Store. A lot of stuff is happening in the African diaspora. Rwanda and the Congo have finally got to a peace agreement under the Donald Trump State Department. It actually has happened. As you know, Donald Trump has rescinded the temporary, this is what I don't understand about this. It's called temporary protection status, TPS, temporary, meaning it could end at any time and you got to go back to your country. But as we know, that has been ended for some Haitians and some Venezuelans and all that other stuff. So they have to go back to their country. It is very important that we understand in a global economy, in a global world where we are no longer solitary, having a Pacific Ocean and an Atlantic Ocean to separate us from the great powers and all this other stuff, that we are now in a global economy. And it's very important that we know what is going on in the global economy. A good example, I will vote for Donald Trump. I will vote for Donald Trump. Cuban Americans, 70% in Miami alone, voted for Donald Trump. Thus, now in the Miami-Dade area, there is a actual agreement between the city of Dade and ICE to help deport other Latinos. So Latinos don't even like Latinos. But these are things that are very important that you can find information on the African Diaspora News Channel. Another reason for the African Diaspora News Channel is you're not going to get videos from Demetra K, Brother Phil Scott, Vicky Dillard, and all the rest of the great contributors there. If you're not a specific member, you don't get all the videos. So there are videos that you guys are not even seeing. You're only getting the ones you guys see on the algorithm, the Emancipation Channel, and stuff like that. So there's a whole bunch of stuff to it. So again, if you get a chance to download that, please do. It's strongly recommended. We need to know what's going on around the globe and the real truth of what is happening. Also, I want to give a shout out to Sunlight. Because she is on the program right now, I have to be on my best behavior. I can't take my shirt off. I can't do anything like that because she's not having it. It's as simple as that. So Demetra, this is important. If you like Sean Combs, if you don't like Sean Combs, this brings up a lot of questions in regards to, is one man Rico? Ask R. Kelly. Obviously, he's one of them.
Yes, indeed. So hello to everybody that's come on here. I will get into the comment section, of course, because we have, hey, one who cares how you doing. So many people on here nowadays. I try to get to everybody at least once. So, yeah. So anyway, as you guys may or may not know, Sean P. Diddy Combs was on trial for a racketeering conspiracy. So a RICO, basically, 2 counts of sex trafficking and 2 counts of transportation for prostitution. That's, what he's essentially been charged with. And so, of course, we know that he was charged by the feds. I think it was later last year. And that maybe came with a year or so. Maybe, I don't know, after Cassie filed her $30 million lawsuit against him. So it wasn't a criminal case. It was a lawsuit seeking $30 million for basically a lot of the stuff that he is on trial for right now, right? So again, then the feds picked it up. They ransacked his properties and things like that, found a lot of evidence. And then they brought these charges against him. But with that, we've heard a lot of well, we didn't hear, but we've heard about the testimony because in the federal case, they don't allow cameras in. But I'm one of those ones that followed it from day one, right? From listening to, reading the transcripts and things like that. So it's very interesting. But of course, we know that the jury got the case last week. So they started deliberating yesterday, which was Monday. The judge originally gave them a deadline of 4th of July, right? Like 4th of July, it's a holiday. Let's have something before then. So, of course, about 2 hours ago, maybe at this point, news broke that there's a verdict, a partial verdict in. All right. So I want to put up here again the charges. So charges against Diddy, 1 count, racketeering, conspiracy. Now I want to tell y'all what they carry. If he is found guilty, let me find my timeline. Okay. So for the racketeering, now this is interesting. They're on a racketeering charge, the jury, and this is where it gets partial, right? The jury is split. So there is no guilty or not guilty. They're split on that charge. The racketeering charge, the RICO, is the most serious charge, and it carries anywhere from, let's see, there is no mandatory minimum, but it could be life on that, right? So they're split on that. But on counts 2, 3, 4, and 5. So as y'all can see there, 2 is trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. Now, this is on 2 people. This is on Cassie Ventura and Jane, which a lot of people are speculating that is Daphne Joy. I'm saying speculating because we don't know anything. Who was 50 Cent's baby's mama. And this just on these 2, right? And then count 3, of course, transportation to engage in prostitution. Count 4, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. So again, these are on Daphne or Jane, I should say, and Cassie. And count 5, transportation to engage in prostitution. So 2 of the same charges on 2 different people. So again, they have a verdict. We don't know what it is. I've seen some outlets say what it was, but the truth is nobody knows how they've decided on counts 2, 3, and 4. Of course, there's a lot of speculation, but a lot of people are really centered on the first one, the racketeering, because again, that's the most serious one. Diddy is 55 years old, I think, at this point. With that charge, he could spend the rest of his life in prison. Now, it's up to the judge to decide what he would get, but let's just say on the sex trafficking counts, the maximum is 15 years on that, and the mandatory minimum is 15 years, okay? Now, transportation for prostitution, maximum is 10 years each. So this is each, right? Because it's 2 people. And then the mandatory minimum is none. So the judge could say, you know what? You got time served on that one. Now, on the trafficking, which is under the Mann Act, right? He could either get 30 years if he's found guilty on both, on a mandatory and a minimum, right? So it's up to the judge. So it just depends, right? So nevertheless, the jury has to come back tomorrow or go back tomorrow to finish deliberating on the first count. Now, it sounds like maybe the prosecution and the defense want them to come up to a conclusion. The judge is like, okay, I hear what y'all saying. Y'all are split on that one, but if we allow you some more time, we need y'all to go back in there and try to come to a conclusion. Now, they may come to the conclusion that they just can't, right? Now, of course, as I said, a lot of people are speculating. Well, and this is all speculation. I know nothing. These people know nothing outside of the jury. But a lot of people are speculating that, well, if they are split on the most serious one that kind of has all these things attached to it, might it be possible that they're saying not guilty on some of these? And then some people are saying, well, maybe it's guilty on some, maybe it's guilty on all, right? So nobody really knows until the jury comes back. But I also want to talk about something really quick, the Mann Act, right? A lot of people are familiar with the Mann Act, may or may not be, is a law that came into existence in 1910. And it's basically to prohibit the transportation of women across state lines for immoral purposes. Okay, so of course,
white women.
I'm getting to that. To immoral purposes. Now, the racial history of that is, yes, they did not want black men, and it says Chinese men because Chinese men were considered a threat then as well against white women. They wanted to discourage them from, trafficking or engaging with white women altogether. Now, you guys don't remember, but in 1913, a heavyweight champion boxer by the name of Jack Johnson, he was the first black heavyweight boxing champion. He was convicted under the Mann Act for transporting a white woman, which was his wife at the time, right? So she was consenting and all that. Her name was Lucille Cameron. He trafficked her across state lines, right? Because he's traveling, he's got all this money, and she's with him, so they're just traveling. But white supremacy was like, what was you doing with that white woman, right? So nevertheless, he was prosecuted. But the interesting part about this is why I'm really even talking about this part of it, is President Donald Trump in 2018 pardoned Jack Johnson posthumously, acknowledging the injustice. And so when I saw that, after I was reading, I said, I don't know, right? Because President Trump was asked recently, would he pardon Diddy? He says, well, I haven't been asked. He says, me and Diddy used to be cool, but then he started to ride for the Democrats. He says, but I'll entertain it, right? So that's going to be very interesting if he's found guilty on any of these charges. But, I was going to wait to talk about this tomorrow when and if we think a verdict will come out. But I was like, no, let's talk about it today, because I know for whatever reason, a lot of people might have some type of feeling about it, intrepidation. I don't know. I know I did. And I'll tell you why I had some intrepidation about the verdict in a minute. But Donovan, what say you with all that? And I'm going to take this down.
I want to say that the Mann Act, again, we have a lot of laws on the books that are antiquated and outdated and should be put into the National Archives, as we need to update our laws. This situation with P. Diddy, once again, I don't know what it is about people who are non-white that get a lot of money and they know better. I mean, P. Diddy, he worked his way to the top. And, how many of you guys, the first time I ever saw P. Diddy was in a video with a singer named Stacy Lattisaw. The song was called What You Need or something like that. And he's in the video trying to show her how to dance. You guys can go on YouTube and look that up, Stacy Lattisaw. And you'll see a very, very skinny P. Diddy. And that's pretty much how he started in the industry, other than, interning from Howard and all this other stuff. I don't know what it is about people in our community. They get to a certain status and they forget who they are and what country that they dwell in. We cannot do what the white man does, because basically what Diddy did was no different, in my opinion, than what Hugh Hefner allegedly done, what happened at the Playboy Mansion. I heard it was some horrific stuff going on at the Playboy Mansion in regards to that, but nobody was prosecuted in that situation. We got R. Kelly. Why is it that when a black man has a certain status, he's a target? Harvey Weinstein, whatever, however you guys want to do this, they find some way to get out of it. And I just wish we would always, it's hard, it's mind-boggling that he, with all his wealth, that they're treating him as if he had no money at all and he's just some street urchin running around. Now, how many of you guys remember Robert Kraft was involved in a sex scandal down in Florida getting a massage? You haven't heard nothing about that since. Man that's got money, man got wealth, right? And the massage parlor where Mr. Kraft was caught was a massage parlor that is alleged to has to do with sex trafficking. But was he ever prosecuted? Never. The case just went away. I just wish us as black people, I'm not saying don't enjoy your life and your money and doing that. It is not a crime to engage in debauchery. Hell, I do it from time to time when I'm overseas. No, I'm joking. I don't, but you know what I mean? It's not a crime. It's not a crime, is my point. I find it very hard from what I saw, and I didn't see all the evidence, but what I saw, I don't think the government proved its case of RICO, and that's the most important case. An illiterate man is sitting in jail right now on RICO. One man, R. Kelly, good music. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I'm going to say this for my people. I don't care how rich you think you are, if you think you're an Oprah Winfrey, if you think you're a Tyler Perry, you better look in the mirror and look at that skin and remember what country you dwell in. Hitler learned to prosecute the Jews from the United States of America. And if Sean gets off of this, P. Diddy gets off of this, I hope he learned a very valuable lesson. But then again, I believe his sons have charges coming up. So that is another situation. Or they don't? Okay, well, I heard something where his sons might be charged with some other stuff. But it's mind-blowing to me if he gets off of it. I don't see RICO. Hopefully, and I'm not a Sean Diddy Combs fan. I want that to be clear. I'm from the West Coast, baby. It's all about Ruthless Records. It's all about all that. So, again, it's mind-blowing. And if he does get out of this, he better thank God. He better thank God.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as I know, his sons do not have charges. I know I saw something about a week ago that some woman said that Diddy and one of his sons, I think it's Justin, did something to her, but it's not a criminal case. It's a lawsuit again,
she's going for the money.
Yeah, of course, people are going to start coming out the woodworks for money and things like that. So, as I said, I don't know. I have no idea what the charges are. Nobody does except for the jury, who will potentially come back with a, finished up tomorrow, whatever the case is. But, I don't say that I'm not a Diddy fan or anything like that. I like his music. I like Diddy, his hustle and the things he's done. I don't like a lot of the things that he's been accused of doing, including to his own artists and things like that. And as I've said before, and I'm not going to not say it again, if Diddy is going to go to jail and get in trouble, it should be for something that he did. Even the defense team, as they were doing their closing, they said this could be anybody. Any man who engages in, X, if you will, with a woman and flies her out, this could be any man, And his team was basically saying, we really should be careful as to how basically we apply this, right? And now I was having a conversation with somebody earlier, and they were like, oh, well, basically stating that because he's rich. I said, this could be a man working at the warehouse. It could be anybody, right? It could even be women. You a sugar mama, somebody, you flying a little something out for the weekend. He might have buyer's remorse and say, you know what? I wasn't trying to give it to Glota. Glota took it. Glota gave me some Excedrin PM and I fell asleep, and then you can have, drug trafficking and all this other stuff, right? Now, of course, we know at the crux of this is the RICO. And I see a lot of y'all saying, well, how could they, charge one man? And that's what his defense said. They said RICO is an enterprise. This is what the prosecution defense are saying. This was an enterprise. But they're like, if they really believe that, why did they just charge Diddy? Why didn't they bring in all these other people that they said helped them and this, that, and the other, right? Now, again, with that, they're trying to take all of his money, property, and everything from 2004 to 2024. They're alleging that he amassed this fortune or used this fortune to participate in these things that they have accused him of. Now, if you've been following the case, and I have, and I go back to when Cassie dropped her case, right? Her lawsuit. When everybody read it, it's terrible, right? He's done some terrible things to her. But then as you hear the case progress, it's like, Cassie, what's really going on here? Because even the defense in their closing pointed out that Cassie wasn't new to this. They were being very careful, but they were saying she wasn't new to this because she was dating a man before she got with Ryan Leslie, right? That was her man. He was 10 years older than her at that point. And I think she was 19 when she met Diddy, but they didn't get together until I think she was like 21. So they're saying Cassie she ain't new to the rodeo with dating older men, basically trying to dispel the whole grooming aspect. Oh, he groomed her. She was this, and he took advantage of this young deer or this doe in headlights or whatever the case is. Now, again, I'm not diminishing anything Cassie has gone through, because I think she probably went through a lot of horrible things. But the question is consent, right? And that's what the jury kind of was really sending questions back, wanting those specific things about her. As the jury got 64 pages of instructions for everything, right, that they could consider, they couldn't consider, just a lot of stuff, right? But they wanted to know specific things about Diddy and Cassie in regards to certain nights, like one at the Intercontinental Hotel and then one when they was at the Cannes Festival. And it sounds like they may be trying to get to consent, but we learned throughout the trial that, yeah, Cassie was very on board with a lot of things, even texting him after they broke up, texting Diddy and said that she is so, I'll just say this, ready to freak off, right? And he was more or less like, per their text conversation, this is another thing, y'all. Y'all think y'all be erasing all these text messages? But per these text messages, so she contacted Diddy and said she wanted to freak off. Now, mind you, she's with her fiance, Alex Fine, at the time, who she's married to now, and they got kids. And Diddy says, are you sure? So, they go and do that. So I think that's kind of where the jury is like, all right, how much of a victim is she? But now the prosecution and the judge and them agreed that even if she consented to 75 times, the 76 times she might not have consented. So they can consider that as well. So it's kind of wide open. And Brother Reggie, you brought up juror number 25. It's not that he was tripping. And from what I understand, they said he's, I think, Hispanic male. And they said, I think he says he's an engineer, a scientist or something like that. So it wasn't that he was tripping. It's that the other jurors believe that he didn't fully understand the instructions. That's from what I understand. But maybe sounds like that he got on board with the program. I guess the judge didn't seem like they were interested in removing him. Of course, that would give Diddy's team leeway for an appeal if he was found guilty, right? Because how did they know what was going on with that juror if they remove him and this, that, and the other? But the speculation too is that if he is found guilty, that he has a lot of room for appeal, because there was a lot of things that was entered in that was questionable, maybe shouldn't have been, entered in, and all that other stuff. But I'm going to say this, and I'm going to get into the comment section. And then I may even open up the link just to kind of hear what you have to say. I'm going to say this, and I want to be very careful, because I don't want to come off as that I'm excusing Diddy for anything. To me, as I am waiting, and like you guys, for the results of this case, the verdict, I guess we should say, I have a lot of intrepidation, because as I was watching TMZ, and they're kind of like live on the spot, right? I hear all these people in there talk about, oh, I hope I win my bet. There's some white women in there talking about, oh, well, he is guilty of the Mann Act. Like, this is what they're saying, right? And so it really made me ill, is because at the end of the day, I think this is really about, and I want to be careful, because I'm not saying that Diddy's innocent. I don't know if he's innocent. But to me, just hearing the conversation from these white folks and different people, and they're hearing about the feds wanting to take his money, this is, to me, nothing more than them just like feeding their blood thirst of taking down another black man. Because with that, and I want to be careful again, all the stuff that they people do, and they don't have that kind of a thirst to see their people get taken down and have all their wealth taken from them. Y'all talking about Harvey Weinstein. He's probably going to get off. They just overturned one case, and they're just trying to figure out a way to just completely let him off the hook, right? But when I hear them salivate over this case with Diddy, it becomes more and more apparent to me that it should become apparent to Diddy that he ain't nothing but just another black man, and they don't care what happens to him. And I'm not saying Diddy is not a douchebag. I think that he is in a lot of regards. I just want to see Diddy go to jail for something he actually did. This, to me, at the end of the day, is hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. This is what this is to me. The women that he's on trial for, Jane and Cassie, they were not the love of his eye on the red carpets and things like that. They all talked about how come it wasn't them. They saw him with Carisha, Young Miami, and all these other women. Why not me? And I think at the end of the day, they're like, okay, sucker, since you didn't make me Mrs. Combs, I'll be your Huckleberry. So anyway, I'm gonna give it to Donovan, and then I'm gonna get into the comment section.
Fellas, get your passports. Get your passports.
Wait, hold on now. But those women, Cassie ain't black. Cassie,
right. I get it.
She's what, Mexican,
American women.
Filipino?
No, I'm messing with it. I'm messing with it.
Daphne Joy ain't black either. What
Right,
is she?
yeah.
Asian? I don't know.
She's Asian. I think she's Filipino.
Take notes, brothers. Take notes.
It's American women. The whole thing. Let's get out of here. Let's leave them alone. Like they said, leave us alone. We don't need us. No, I'm just joking. This is a serious issue, but that's kind of funny at the same time. Money, politics, it all meshes all together here. So again, my question to you, Demetra, and to the other co-hosts here is, where's the Democratic Party for Diddy? Wasn't this the guy that did the die or vote or die campaign and went to the carpet? Do you see what white supremacy does when it's done with its tools? It breaks them in half. It just breaks them. Look at all of these black people that go to the carpet for the Democratic Party or whiteness. And this is the payback that they get for what they're doing. But let you be a hardcore capitalist like these owners and all these people that have billions of dollars, nothing ever happens to you. You don't get prosecuted. You get to run around, and it takes years and years. And by the time the case comes up, everybody involved has passed away. You know what I mean? But I really want to hear what you guys have to say. I think this is a show where we could really hear what the co-hosts have to say, because I believe you guys really have some good insight on this and different opinions. So let's go to the co-hosts.
Absolutely. So I'm in the comment section now. So D-Mac, how you doing? Says the salacious behavior cannot be condoned or excused. I mean, you know what? Honestly, D-Mac, what I really feel about that is it's not for us to condone or excuse it, because I can't tell another man or woman what and how to do in their bedroom. Some people, if they want that good old-fashioned mommy 2 minutes, whatever, that's on them. But I don't know. I heard you like to be ragdoll. Bam, bam. But some people, they is it salacious or is it just not your taste per se? You know what I mean? And again, those women, Jane and Cassie, they consented a lot. In fact, there's a lot of evidence saying that they asked for it, right? They asked for the drugs and, all of that. So there's a lot to be considered in this case. Daryl, you said something crazy. Let me see me go back to it. He said, just wait until Oprah dumpstead me. He will be the Black Cassie. You crazy. Let's see. Who else was on here? I don't want to skip anybody. Ursa, how you doing? Says they should stay in the foundational Black American community. Yeah, I would think so as well. King Shaw, you says the judge won't let a hung jury happen. He wants a verdict. Yes, but he can't force it, right? If they just cannot come to a verdict, then they'll have to accept that. But they'll tell them to go back, see if there's something else you could do, could say, think about something else. But at the end of the day, they can't make them do that, because then Diddy can have an appeal. Like, he's found guilty. Well, the judge made them come up with something. Now they could have went with their original thought process of, we're not sure.
Yeah, if you guys think back to the original 12 Angry Men, I know there was a remake in the 90s, but go back to the original 12 Angry Men. They all thought this kid was guilty, and then after the guy was throwing out the facts, it took some time, but they got down to the wire of everybody's different prejudices. So,
yeah, absolutely. Sister Shirley, how you doing? Hope that you are doing well. Yes, Lazarus, RICO charges up in the air. That's the one that they're on split on. They're undecided. Very, very interesting. Alex says, hey, Donovan, on Shawshank Redemption, rather, when the feds came after Ward and Samuel Norton before he offed himself, that was RICO. Oh, yes, absolutely. If you know, RICO, Shawshank Redemption. And King Shaw says the judge wants to really see Sean guilty. From listening to the text and the transcripts and stuff, I don't think that's the case. I think the judge has given a lot of leeway, right? For a lot of things. So I don't get that, because ultimately it's not up to the judge whether he's guilty or not. It's up to the jury. And, I think it's the judge that will decide the sentencing. And Brother Raven, he says, I'm not a Diddy follower, but I would never bandwagon with other people, Black people, especially who thirst for the downfall of another Black person. Diddy will walk Okay, says the government just wanted to bust his rear for the situations, the liquor dispute. They just wanted to emotionally and financially bust Diddy up. Black people, are rich or poor, need to understand this country fears our rise. So taking us down is always priority. I get what you're saying. You know what my not so professional opinion is, because I'm not in the jury room. I think that he'll be guilty on some stuff, but all of it, well, I don't think they'll find him guilty on the RICO, but some of it is possible. All of it, maybe. None of it, maybe. I hope that clears things up.
Yeah, and I do believe if they do find him guilty on some of the stuff, he's going to appeal that, and with the money that he has left, he's going to beat the case.
Dixie Dean, how you doing? Says this is all down to interracial mixing. Black men wanting acceptance from them folks. It may have something to do with that. It does raise a good question. If those were Black women, would the situation be the same? Would those Black women have been taken seriously to the point of the feds getting involved? You know what I mean? Diane, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Brother Reddy says, yeah, the bets markets are saying he's guilty is wild. People are gambling on this. Yeah, very wild. Brother Samuel says, to whites, business is warfare. He says, when you start to wake up, they move out to tear us down, etc. Example rather, Michael Jackson and others you've already named. Yeah, Michael Jackson was a perfect example. They wanted him guilty so bad, but when he was found not guilty, they just couldn't believe it. They turn into red tomatoes. Beverly says these vampires are hypocrites. Yeah, they don't ever have that kind of a thirst for their own people being in trouble, right? And Tanya, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Slim Slammer says I was 18 when I learned not to be freaking off with junkies. I'm 52 today. Puff, are you kidding me? Yeah, well, I don't know if he was. Some people will argue that he was a junkie. That's what his defense was saying, that Puff Daddy was a drug addict. He went to rehab a few times, right? They brought that up in the trial. King Shaw says he's Jewish majority. He says people working in courts are Jewish. Of course, they're gonna look out for Harvey. You ain't lying. You ain't got to convince me of that. Michelle, how you doing? Says he's the lower level of what this is. He deserves to deal with his punishment. However, the ones at the top need to pay as well. And whether they know it or not, their time is up too. Yeah, they're going to. And then also, like when I'm watching the news, and I don't do that much, but as I'm watching the news, they keep on repeating the baby oil scenes and the hotel scene. It's like they are really trying to just really finish him off. And that's the nature of them folks, is to really put the nail in the coffin. Look how often Michael Jackson's been dead, 14 years, give or take, something like that. And every so often, something will come up about Michael did or said this. Somebody got to come up with a documentary. Gail and Oprah, they at the forefront of, interviewing people who said Michael Jackson. So it's like they will never allow his legacy to rest, right? So that's just, they're just bloodthirsty in that way. The unsubscribed queen, how you doing? Says, and they mad because he said Black women was getting what they couldn't get. Yeah, Cassie and this Jane Doe, right? They saw him on the carpet with Carisha, Black woman, and other ones, and they was getting, the bag, right? They had these appearances at this, that, and the other, and he was really, Carisha, he gave her her own podcast on Revolt because he owned Revolt. She made her own game, put her in music, had her on the red carpet, giving her, from what I understand, $200,000 a month. So he was really doing it big. Now, Jane and them, they getting whatever they get, and she was getting $10,000 a month rent paid. So she's looking at that, and they brought that up in the trial, that she was like, hey, wait a minute now. She was really, really angry that he was doing that for other women and not for her. So they brought that up a lot.
Let me read this from Brother Reggie, and it's important that we read this. Brother Reggie from Japan. Go to his YouTube channel too, you guys. He has an excellent YouTube channel. If you guys have never been to Japan and you are planning on going, he gives you great tips on living in Japan. I lived in Japan. Dimitri's been in Japan. Dimitra loved it. Okay, so you guys never been to Japan, but Brother Reggie says they need to stop demonizing baby oil. And I'm going to say this, in the words of Walter, because you know how Walter loves his baby oil too. Stop demonizing baby oil.
Baby oil is good. I don't use it, but people do. Listen, I don't know what you do with your baby oil is your business. Alice's Heavy D and Guy had this about him. Dumb Diddy. What? Stupid. Maya, how you doing? Says P. Diddy is guilty as F. I don't know. Were you there? Were you there? You know, we won't know until the jury comes out with their decision, right? Whatever the decision is. Sounds like they got a decision on 4 of the counts, but the first one, the RICO, it sounds like they were split. So they got to go back in the morning to finish deliberating, see if they can come to a conclusion one way or the other. Mr. South Carolina, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Tikoa, what's going on with you? Say you think he's not guilty? Again, we'll know when the jury comes out with it, right? Brother Sammy says we must wake up and know when a crucifixion is taking place and giving the Barabbas a pass and calling the to crucify the man you once yelled Hosanna after being manipulated by the modern day scribes and Pharisees. I think that's what you're saying. Absolutely. I get exactly what you're going with it. And again, nobody is excusing anything Diddy may have done. Again, this is not Diddy's first time at the rodeo. Hell, he was on trial before, right? With the shooting, and Shine went down for it. To this day, Shine says that it wasn't him, it was Diddy. So if he's found guilty, maybe this is like it's time to pay the piper, you know? So I don't really necessarily have a dog in the fight as far as Diddy. But I'm just one of those, find him guilty on what he's actually guilty of. But at the end of the day, I think, like I said, this is a case of hell has no fury like a woman scorned, which is why you fellas need to be careful of who y'all playing with. You know what I mean? Sarah, how you doing? Says, I honestly think Cassie isn't a victim in a Diddy sex trafficking trial, and she was a willing participant in his freak off. Make it make sense. Yeah, I really think this is what it is. She struck a match, bam. You know, because the trial they did, the defense brought up that she was broke, her and her husband, that they were actually living at home at her parents' house with the 2 children, you know, and then she filed this lawsuit. So she was broke. She was going on tour, but then she canceled the tour right after Diddy settled with her, right? So the defense is like, what is going on here? Is it a coincidence that you were living at home? Y'all have to move back home. Y'all being you, your man, and your 2 children back home with your mom and daddy. Then you sue, and then now you're not going on tour. And as my daughter said, ma'am, I only know 1, maybe 2 songs that she had. So what kind of tour were you actually going to go on? You know,
but it isn't amazing that a white man could not have 6 figures and all this other stuff and live at home and never gets talked about.
Well, you know, I don't know. I just kind of think that if you are the help, and that's what they call them, right? Her husband was the help. He was their fitness trainer. They being Diddy and Cassie, and she runs off with the fitness trainer. You kind of expect to be blackballed, right? Diddy knows everybody, and you run off with his woman in a sense. Yeah, you'll probably be blackballed. It'll probably be hard for you to work again, but that's kind of, you know, and then also in the trial, the defense, I think, did a good job at pointing out that Cassie's not innocent. She, you know, cheated, if you will, on Diddy a lot with, you know, a whole bunch of people, you know, not to put her out there, but they're like, she had a burner phone for her cheating and burner hotels and all kind of stuff when she was, you know, tricking off on the side of Diddy. So it's a very interesting case. Michael, how you doing? Says they've already reached a verdict on yes, counts 2, 3, 4, and 5. Absolutely. Al says, had Diddy married Kim Porter, he probably wouldn't be in this BS. Yeah, it might not have been, but that's the other there's some speculation about that. I don't know. But that's the other thing too, is that's a good case to settle down with a good choice. Sit yourself down somewhere. Stop trying to trick off. You know, Diddy is 55 on, you know, almost 60. And up until last year, he was tricking off, right? So at what point do you sit down with one woman with all your money and go build a beautiful life? When do you just do that? You know, there's never enough of more. And eventually you're going to get caught up. So let's see who else. D-Mac says, yo, anyone with a citizen app can see how many people in your neighborhood have registered as a sex offender. It's scary. Yes. There's one called, I think, Family Watchdog or something like that. You can look it up. Yeah, you actually could tell. And it's a good thing that you can see who may be doing something strange, right? Michelle W., how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Y of Israel, how you doing? So Chuck Berry went to jail under the Mann Act. He sure did. And he was accused of, you know, being with underage woman. I don't know how true it is, but that's what he was. I think he ended up doing some time for that.
Yeah, and didn't James Brown date a young Tammy Terrell?
Yeah, and I think too back then, because I know a lot of times people bring up Elvis and things like that, but back then things were different. It wasn't unusual for an older man, not that much older. Even back in some cases it were, right, before they made laws making children under the age of 18 not able to consent depending on what state you live in. But back then, it wasn't unusual for a man that may be a little older to date a 17-year-old. I don't know, 16, but definitely 17 or whatever. I don't know. Damon, he says, white mainstream media is racist as, yes, indeed. Tanya says, I hope he gets off. They keep wanting us to pay for that OJ verdict. Now, you said a word. You said a word with that one. Miss Sweets, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Who else is on here? Shadow Pop, how you doing? Says the 4 charges that they agreed with have to be guilty, because if not, then charge 1 would be not guilty. Who knows, right? Who knows? We'll know when we know. There's a lot of speculation as to, yeah, I've heard what you said, or maybe some, maybe it's hard to say, right? Tico says, Trump pardon your boy Diddy. It's going to be interesting. Sherry, how you doing? Says, and Cassie is still in love with Puffy. Yes, they discovered that toward the end of her testimony that she said, they asked her, do you still love Diddy? She says, I love what we had. So there was some kind of hesitation for her to say no. Obviously, she's going to say no, right? She's got a husband. He doesn't want to hear that she still loves the dude that she said, he did all this stuff to me. But she says, I love what we had. It's like, really? Okay. You love that $30 million you got too, huh?
Yeah, you know, and I want you guys to think of this. See, you ladies that don't think about how a man thinks when he hears his woman say, I miss what we had. And in that relationship, there was a lot of abuse. I would have been looking at her like, what the hell did you just say?
Yeah. King Mikey say, free Diddy, but Diddy had way too much baby oil. Not a crime. Not a crime to have way too much baby oil, right? Brother Reggie says, so wait, are Carisha and Young Miami? Yes, they're the same person. I can't keep up with these new 304s. Yes, they are the same person. All right, let's see. Slim Slammer, he says, why would you date someone ex backbiting will get you nowhere long? I agree. Out with the jokes. Lazarus just says, so Diddy can go to jail, but they can walk down the street on their parades, half naked in front of children. Now make that sense of that. And the other thing too is, the people that testified in the trial, they were given immunity. And the judge did tell the jury, you need to look at those that got immunity, their testimony very closely, because they got immunity, right? They may be like, oh, okay, well, since you gave me immunity, I'm going to just say this, that, and the other. So the judge, he did say, hey, y'all need to be careful of that testimony. But yeah, T-Call says, we know they're going to find him guilty, but is he really guilty? They're going to make him guilty. We all know that. I don't know. We'll know when we know. That's when we will say, yep, they did, right? All right, who else is on here? And Miss Sweet says, exactly, Cassie was salty at Carisha Young Miami getting paid big money. They both were, they did these freak offs, which it didn't sound like it was, I don't know. It sounds like it could have been excruciating, I guess. I don't know. But then they see Young Miami getting all this, the accolades. She's getting the flowers. She's getting the come up. She's just doing well. Diddy really cares for her, right? And even Jane says she would see on the internet that they're traveling here and they're riding together here. And she's got this car that he's bought her and all this other stuff. And she's more or less like, that should be me. Well, like, what is she doing? And why does she get that and I don't? I'm the one that's having all these freak offs with you and these people. Why not me, right? And then even in the trial, they read text from her telling Diddy, you need to put Carisha in a freak off. Hook her up with these dudes too. So she wanted her to be getting what she was getting.
Well, I can answer that question. When a woman is being urinated on and all this craziness that is happening, who knows what Carisha was doing that wasn't in the transcripts? You know what I mean?
I mean, that could be true, but again, too, and thank you, Al. The other thing, too, is a lot of people said, and this is why it's important not to be listening to rumors and all these quacks on the internet getting likes and clicks and stuff. They said all these people that was supposed to be implemented in these freak offs, none of them were mentioned. None of them came up. All these people with hate in their heart threw all these different people in. Oh, they're going to come up. Oh, and I even see people to this day talking about, oh, I can't wait till they get Jay-Z. What Jay-Z got to do with it? He never even came up in the trial at all. But people are still saying that they can't wait to Jay-Z get it. Why? Why are you such a hateful person? That's what you need to ask yourself, you know. Let's see. Who else is on here?
But let that be said that see how a black man was treating a beautiful black Nubian queen. There's a good case right there. The light skin. Here's a case of a brother taking care of a beautiful Nubian queen. Nobody talks about that. Yeah, he was urinating on her and stuff, but hey.
Which she asked for. Okay, throw that in there. She wanted it. Daryl says if the whole Tupac Biggie beef did not happen, just imagine Suge and Diddy learning self-control, two black men controlling music on the East and West Coast. Yeah, but something tells me that there was other powers to be at work there. They would have never allowed that. Can you imagine two black men to that degree having that much control over the music industry, taking the power away from the people who have control over the music industry? That would have never happened. I suggest if you haven't watched the Two Killings of Sam Cooke, very, very, very great documentary on Netflix, and it'll tell you a lot about what I just said. Oh my God, Machia, you say, what is Astroglide? Google it. Google that. Let's see. Ari says if he's found guilty, he will be.
I heard. I could explain it because I happened in my research heard what Astroglide is, but yeah, just Google it for yourself. I could anyway. Go ahead.
It's kind of like what it sounds like, you know. Anthony, how you doing? Says they were jealous because she is dark-skinned woman. It could be. They definitely were jealous. Like, who is she? Why does she get to live lavishly in the sun and everybody gets to see it, and I'm back behind, you know, closed doors esoterically? You're having these freak offs, you know. So
look,
yeah,
I don't care what anybody says. We've been to Africa and stuff like that, and our sisters here in the United States, the sisters still got it going on. I know you guys be putting on that European stuff, whatever, but at the end of the day, nobody can touch a black woman's body. I'm sorry.
Yes, indeed. Brother Sammy says it may be your phone, but our lips are not in sync. Ooh, from my end, I can see that they're in sync. I don't know if it looks like that on your end. I do apologize if that's the case. Miss Sweet says Cassie blackmail Diddy. How is she getting immunity? Well, I kind of listening to everything. It would appear that way, but the feds or anybody, they're not necessarily saying that. But the defense kind of alluded to it, like, okay, there's motive for you to bring this lawsuit, right? You guys really weren't together since I think was it 2016 or something like that, and then they got together years after that for the freak off that she asked for. But I think the defense was kind of getting to that. But of course, they don't want to come off as they're beating up on her, you know. Jacoby says she asked for it like it was a menu off Red Robin. You crazy. Lonnie, how you doing? And thank you for asking everybody to hit the like button. And Gloria, how you doing? Says, I hope they find that demon guilty. Well, if they do, they do. If they don't, they don't, right? Brother Reggie, yes. Brother Reggie says the Sam Cooke documentary was good. Yeah, that's why I say people need to watch it. Narma, how you doing? Education is key. How you doing? Okay, I'm glad that you educated them on what that is. In the comment section, my Lord. Let's see who else. Oh, I got to the bottom. What? And Al says, who will be his irrevocable beneficiary? So you mean of all of his stuff? He's got children. You know, his mom. Sounds like a lot of his stuff is in his mother's name, Janice Combs. A lot of his enterprises and things are in his mom's name. He's got children and things like that. That, you know, if indeed he does go to prison, which he probably will if he's found guilty on some of them. But the biggest one is the RICO. The RICO is where they were trying to take everything from him. So that would be a win for him. Of course, if he appeals or he gets pardoned, then, you know, he'll still have his stuff. I just can't get with them taking that man's everything from him over two girlfriends who essentially are disgruntled. I think that whether, you know, they had a tumultuous relationship, as the defense said, what we heard is the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of a relationship. Every relationship has it. And they said, yes, Diddy, in a sense, is a domestic abuser, but that's a state charge. But they said, you also heard Cassie said that she would beat him up as well. You also heard Jane say that she hit him as well. And she did. She admitted that she was mad at Diddy and she punched him or something, slapped him, threw a glass at him. So they kind of were at each other. You know, it wasn't from what I understand, I don't know, I wasn't there, that he was just a raving lunatic, right? And even after the infamous tape that we've seen, they show text messages of Cassie and him kind of joking, like, "Oh, it wasn't that serious. Oh, we're not tripping off of that type of thing, right?" And they also got to put into the evidence today where Cassie made a post um after the lawsuit, or when he got snatched up by the feds, something about this is about domestic violence. So the defense want to put that in there, like, she's saying this is domestic violence. She's not saying this was trafficking, prostitution or anything like that. She's herself is also saying this is domestic violence, um, which is not a federal charge, unless he was just doing it on a big scale or something. I don't know. Let's see, where else did it leave off? Emmy says that industry is anything but glamorous. You're right. The things that people have to do for money is crazy, and it would make anybody with some sanity be like, I ain't trying to be up in Hollywood, because
And speaking of Hollywood, remember that big Democratic donor guy that was throwing off freak offs, whatever? That's what I'm saying. You never hear of these Democratic white supremacists going through what the black men go through. And he was caught. Somebody got killed at his residence.
Which
that Democratic donor that
somebody I
know.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about. But like I said, you don't see him, and he was doing pretty much what they do in Hollywood, freak offs and craziness.
Yeah, and I can't think of the guy's name. His name was Ed somebody in LA, and he was doing freak offs. He was homosexual with black men, and I think 2 or 3 of them turned up, at his house, and a couple times they were like, "Oh, it was an accident," but then it happened one more time, and they was like, "Okay, man, we can't keep giving you Hail Marys for killing gay black dudes," talking about they OD'd and stuff like that. Yeah, so that dude has some bodies on him, and they finally gaffled him up. I don't know if he's still alive or what, but yeah, it took him a minute. They just kept saying, "Oh, it was accidental overdose." It was like, for real? Sherry says, that's what pisses me off. They want this black billionaire's money. Jane Doe will not be getting her rent paid anymore. You ain't lying. Ooh, and it was so cold. And the defense in their closing, that when they were talking about Jane, which is allegedly 50 Cent's baby mama, it was like, yeah. And of course, and I'm paraphrasing, she's feeling away because she's only getting $4,500 in child support from her wealthy child's father. And then they said, which, and I paraphrase it, sucks because it sounds like she had ineffective counsel. She didn't have a good attorney if she's only walking away with $4,500 and 50 Cent got all this money, right? So she's got this lifestyle, and now again, too, they're trying to say that Diddy was participating in coercion because he's holding rent, over Jane's head, and Cassie's record deal over her head, and basically saying, if you don't do this, then your rent's not going to be paid. It doesn't sound like it was expressed. Sounds like it was more implied. Expressed is definitely, I'm not paying your rent unless you do these freak offs. Implied is, well, I just kind of felt like if I didn't do it, he wasn't going to pay my rent,
Yeah, something like that. Yes. Ed Buck. Yeah, something like that. Ed Buck.
Ed Buck. Yeah, he had a couple of bodies before they took him seriously, All right, let's see, where did I leave off? Yeah, and Miss Sweet says Cassie's husband is behind all this and wants to think she was a victim. People say that. I think I don't want to say he's a victim. I think he thought he was with, this sweetheart. I don't know, Cassie may be. But the story that she told everybody and had everybody believing wasn't that. The defense unraveled all of that. They're like, we're not saying she's a horrible person, but she's definitely more of a participant than a victim, So, yeah. I don't know. If I was Cassie's husband, I'd be like, there's a lot of things you just didn't tell me. Like, I didn't know. Because they even brought up that the last time she contacted Diddy to freak off again, she went over there and her husband FaceTimed her. And they asked Cassie, did your husband or Alex, I don't know if they were married at the time, did he know what you were doing? She goes, I don't know what he knew. So I don't know if that's something he learned then, but man, you think maybe he thought he was rescuing her, right? And then she's going back for the freak offs. Crazy.
Fellas, ladies, all 1/3 of all babies born in the United States, the father is not the father.
You're crazy. Dave, how you doing? Says, meanwhile, Brian Kohlberger pleads guilty to 4 student murders in Ohio. Okay, I remember that case. Luigi Mangione took out CEO Brian Thompson in New York, and Long Island Rex Harriman took out 18 females and educated white man. Yeah. So I'm familiar with Luigi and the one with the students in Idaho. I think I've heard of the last one. Okay, good, brother. Sammy, I'm glad that you fixed it. Caitlin, how you doing? Says, if only the children who are allegedly involved, now adults, will come forward with evidence, the house of cards white elites would fall. Okay, and Daryl says, I think the hotel hallway beating involved Cassie assaulting Diddy in the hotel room, and he chased her outside for his lick back. So there was some alluding to that they were actually fighting. And that maybe she took his phone or something like that, and then it escalated to what we saw. Nevertheless, it was horrible, what we saw. So, yeah. Jacoby says, yeah, he was the largest donor of Hillary, Ed Buck. Yeah, big-time Democratic donor, and they just kept letting them rack up bodies. Hey, Helly Belly, how you doing?
Hey, real quick. Miss Sweet Talk says, who's the baby daddy? Donovan's hilarious. Think about it. If she's been going back to Diddy, while she's married or in a relationship with this new guy, could Diddy be the father of one of those children? We don't know.
Who? Of Jane Doe?
No. Of Cassie's kids. If she was still going back,
white. They white.
You never know. You never know. Sean Combs is pretty light skinned. His son, the son.
I was about to say. Alex says, the guy in LA y'all talking about, his name is Ed Buck. Yep. Emmy says, it's deeper than we know or want to know. It's a lot of demonic activity. That I will agree with you. I would definitely agree with you. Narmer says, all of this is relationship stuff. None of this is criminal. And that's what the defense said. Said they roped off his room and his bedroom and the hotel room with crime scene tape and all this other stuff. And they basically said anybody's bedroom could be roped off as a crime scene, because some unconventional things were going on in that bedroom. Doesn't necessarily mean it was a crime. This makes, it sounds like there was a lot of baby oil and other stuff involved, but is that a crime?
Yeah, well, I thought they were alleging to the cleanup. It was like a toxic thing, where it's so messed up in there and so much bio, they had to put the tape up to clean up the place.
No, and they said, yeah, they destroyed a lot of rooms with these freak offs and things like that. John Roy, how you doing? Says it'd be another Diddy going down because these brothers can't stay away from these non-black mixed race women, and they know it. Hey, Byron, how you doing?
Why should they be happy in their choices? Why should they be happy? I'm just saying.
All right, let's see. Who else haven't I seen on here? We got 2 minutes. Brother Samuel says the minister said the new method of control is to make a slave rich. Yep. Once he wakes up and doesn't benefit the matter or from the matter or does things to change the playing field or become more conscious, he's targeted. We've seen it time and time and time again. Raven says, having friends at LAPD, they said Hefner was always protected because high-ranking law enforcement officers, DA personnel, and politicians were regular visitors partaking in under male and females. My friend said they never entered the doors to the mansion, but underground tunnels leading from Warren Beatty to Jack Nicholson's residence. Yeah, I've heard about that, but that makes sense. Yeah, a lot of those people, dignitaries, and politicians, yeah, they was up in there, so there was some protection, right? And Sherry says, no, those babies look like they are whole Hispanics, not them or are not puppies babies. Yeah, they real like Caucasian looking, right? D-Mac says Cootie, Cassie, and P. What?
But isn't that sad that if I was the father, if I was P. Diddy, I could bring that issue up and say, hey, look, I was sleeping with her too. The kids haven't been DNA tested, and I could waste people's time. That's my whole point of it. That when we talk about like men cheat, women cheat, everybody's cheat. Human nature, people cheat. So all this, oh, only the men do it. It's BS. A third of all births, the father's not the father. So the women are out there creeping just as much as the dogs are, you know?
Yeah, Reggie. I mean, Jesse, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Sound like says Demetri and Donovan. Why does mixed race non-black equate to happiness? I don't think that it does. Some people it does. You know, they like light skin or whatever. It never has to me equated to happiness. Um, I don't know. I think people like that are just probably colorists. They like that closest to whiteness as possible. I don't know. You know, we were taught even from the slave, from the plantation that white or light was better, right? The darker skinned slave had it the worst. And even today, we make people who are darker pay for it. And unfortunately, the lighter skinned people and the mixed race people, they pay for it as well. You know, so everybody's just consumed with self-hate instead of saying, hey, we are all who we are at the end of the day.
Yeah, you know, my take on that, whenever I hear somebody says, well, he should be dating a sister, he should do this, who are we to tell these people who they fall in love with? That's my whole point. Why should he be happy? If that person makes them happy, what does that have to do with me, you, or anybody else? They're gonna find out. Trust me. My brother went through it. I have a bunch of friends who went through it. You know, messing with Becky is a mother. Okay, so I've never done it, but at the end of the day, who are we to tell somebody who they should fall in love with or whatever their situation is?
Yeah, I've heard stories of people messing with, you know, not even just Becky, but I've heard about sisters thinking Brad was, you know, he's just, oh gosh, you just get you a Brad. And then they have children with Brad, and then Brad gets together with his white family and they take that child. I know so many cases of that. These sisters ended up with visitation of their children, you know, because the white man and his family had more money, or they were white and they wanted the child. And I've seen that. And it's like, yeah, you've got a story to tell, don't you, sis? But anyway, we're going to get out of here. Love and appreciate every last one of y'all. Again, when the verdict comes, I think it'll come tomorrow. When it does, of course, we'll talk about it. And I definitely will open the link tomorrow so that you guys can just give your opinions on what happened and things like that. So, what's tomorrow? Wednesday? Tomorrow's Wednesday. Walter's supposed to be on. So, oh, Lord.
Is he bringing the baby oil?
I hope not. Yeah, Walter will be on, and that's going to be interesting to cover the verdict with Walter. I'm going to have to subdue him a little bit. But yeah, that's going to be very interesting. So Donovan, if you want to come on tomorrow as well, if the verdict comes out.
Oh, absolutely. If the verdict comes out, I'll try to get here, but I'm still trying to catch up from my trip from last week. And the dog's tearing up my damn doors. I got apples I got to harvest, and I mean plums in the backyard. I mean it's peaches. It's going crazy out here.
Yes, indeed. Aren't you lucky? So anyway, thank you, Shireen. So I love and appreciate every last one of y'all. You crazy, Brother Reggie. Make the thumbnail of Walter selling baby oil. Don't give him no ideas, okay? Anyway, I love and appreciate every last one of y'all. If you guys see fit, there's ways to donate to the channel. At the very least, please like and subscribe. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have a verdict. And I will open up the link, and Crazy Walter will be here. Maybe Donovan will be here as well. Allie says, my grandma was so black she would get teased by light-skinned girls saying she was dark like under the bed. Bye.